Yo, 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 what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Orioles Theory, your number one-stop shop for all things Baltimore Orioles related. I'm Tyler Barbarish. Joined with me, as always, is my co-host and good friend, Clay Selgin. And today we have a fun episode planned for you guys. Well, not too fun if you're an Orioles fan like us. We're going to dive into the Orioles and their series loss against the Minnesota Twins. Now, back-to-back series that they have lost against teams that they had to beat if they wanted any chance at a wild card spot in the American League. It seems like the Orioles are dead in the water, and we'll talk about that to kickstart the episode. But on the bright side, we got some news today that MLB Pipeline updated their top 100 prospects, and there were a lot of risers in the Baltimore Orioles farm system. We'll dive into who rose, who fell, Clay and I's favorite prospects who we think could maybe debut in a few weeks here with September call-ups. So we have a lot to go over. But before we dive into that, let me give you a quick shout out to our sponsor, O Squared Residential Design. Look, we know what it takes to build a winning team, and O Squared knows what it takes to build winning spaces. They're a woman-owned, family-operated company right here in Maryland, specializing in kitchen and bathroom renovation. Whether you're looking to restore, replace, or completely remodel, they deliver excellence in every square inch, serving homeowners across the state of Maryland. Check them out at osquared.com. That's osquareddesign.com. All right, Clay. First of all, how you doing? What are the vibes like? When I recorded the other day, you were unable to make it, sadly. Haven't talked to you on the airwaves in a little bit. What's new? Any updates? How you doing?
Brother, I'm great. It's been a long week and a half since I've seen your pretty little face, and I'm excited to be back here. Bought a brand new truck this week, and all I can say is life's good. Life's good. I'm happy to be back, and can't wait to talk some Orioles baseball and get back to schedule.
Yeah, I
How you doing,
saw it.
brother?
I'm doing great, but I'm happy for you. I saw that truck, and it was a nice one. I mean, walk us through it. Like, did you know you wanted a truck? Were you looking for a bigger car? Did you look at SUVs? Like, why did you ultimately settle on the one that you settled on?
Yeah, I've
Well,
always
well,
I've,
well, hold on. First off, I do have to preface that now you're in Texas, you need to drive a truck, and you need
exactly.
boots, and you need a cowboy hat.
I still need the cowboy hat. I have Tim's, but I don't have what they consider to be cowboy boots. I need to get some. But no, I've wanted a truck again for the last couple of years. I had a truck a few years ago. I ended up needing to turn it in, and I got a smaller car just because the job I was working, I was traveling a lot, driving. Yeah,
You need
I
these
got big.
boys right here.
I do need those boys. I got big feet though. I might not be able to fit those, Tyler. Big boy needs some big feet.
Oh no, these look pretty big. Well, these obviously I went to the University of Tennessee, and you need cowboy boots if you go to UTK. I mean,
Yeah, you go to UTK, you gotta have some fun out there.
right. I'm not a big cowboy hat person, but boots are a necessity, and they're very comfy. Now, when you're wearing them all day on Saturday during game days, at the end of the day, when you take them off, it feels like heaven. You're like, oh my God, my toes can breathe. But they are comfy, and like you got to break them in. So I will say, Clay, you got the truck. It's one checklist off the box. You got to get the boots next. And then if you want to get a cowboy hat, you can get a cowboy hat.
I'm gonna put the cowboy hat at the top of the list. I love wearing a good little hat, and yeah, I'm excited. But I was looking at different trucks. I didn't like being in a small car. And now that I'm here, I'm not working a job where I travel. Thank God I'm in an office job, and I'm really enjoying it. I kind of said, you know what, it's about time I go back, get another truck. And, I looked for about a month and kind of landed on this one. I had everything I needed, and I couldn't be more excited, man. Got to be
There we
honest.
go. Congratulations. First big boy purchase or?
Second time I've purchased a car. It's the first time it's actually fully in my name. I didn't need a cosigner or anything. So, there's some blessings to be told for that. I'll say
Round
that.
of applause for you, brother.
Thank you, brother.
But now we gotta not give a round of applause to the Baltimore Orioles, who lost the series in Minnesota against the Twins. Very, very, very winnable games, and all three of them. Game one was maybe a little bit of an asterisk next to it, just because a lot of us had a feeling that our old buddy Dean Kramer was going to mow us down. And I find it funny that he went, 7 innings of one run, one hit ball? It really was a no-hitter if you really think
the
about it.
hit was an infield single.
It went like 20 feet. It was a Jackson Holiday nubber that he just legged out, and then we scored a run because of solid base running. It wasn't anything special, and I do want to tip my cap to Dean because he's been a workhorse for the Orioles for so damn long, and obviously his time in Baltimore was it ran its course simply. But we've seen Dean pitch in a lot of big games. Now, he sold in a lot of those big games more than he delivered, but he was always a guy that, you could turn to and be like, all right, he'll give us 5, 6, maybe even 7 innings of 3 to 5 run ball with the occasional gem where he has 8 Ks and only gives up 1 earned run. But obviously, the season wasn't the way that he wanted it to go, got traded. There were rumors that he had some pitch tipping issues. Do you think that's legitimate? Because it seems like it could have been, because now in his first 2 starts, 12 innings, has only given up 2 earned runs, I think, in those 12. I mean, it seems like he's, you know, doing what Dean does, spinning the baseball and giving you quality starts. Do you think it was a pitch tipping issue, or what do you think went wrong here in Baltimore this year? And why is he thriving in Minnesota all of a sudden?
Yeah, I think it partially could have been. I think, going into a new system now in Minnesota, he has different coaches and kind of a more, I don't really know what the right word is, but it's he's got a subtle team with him. It's kind of, they stay the same. They're not changing coaches all the time, and
They're
there's a
stable.
plan. They're stable. There's a plan in place. I think one issue with the Orioles organization, whether he was tipping pitches or not, is I feel like there's a lot of different voices throwing a lot of different things at you at once. There's really, I mean, when you have 3 or 4 guys on the pitching side, coaching you, telling you what to do, that's a lot of voices that could disagree on 1 or 2 things, and those 1 or 2 minute things could become a big deal just depending on who it is. That's something we talked about with Don Long on the hitting side. There's a lot of things that can go wrong that seem so minute, but I'm happy for Dean. Dean showed what Dean can do the other night against us, and I think it's just unfortunate the way the organization is, that it just seems like analytics have kind of. I think if Dean was tipping his pitches, it's something we could have taken care of, but I think that if the Excel sheet says that he keeps doing things right, it's just not producing the results. There's no such thing as going back to the chalkboard. But I think the Twins are doing the right thing.
Yeah. And it showed on Monday.
Monday. Now,
So
Tyler, I want to ask you. I mean, when you looked at the start Dean Kremer had Monday, and when you look just in general of the last few weeks, obviously since June, the Orioles have had one of the best rotations in baseball. You go back to Shane Baz the other night in Texas, but where do you think has gone wrong? I mean, we're talking about the Orioles being dead. On the pitching side, where do you think they've gone wrong? I mean, besides having a weaker bullpen.
yeah, that was going to be my first response. I think the bullpen has costed this team too many games, not even just since June 1st, but throughout the whole season. I can point to 5 games off the top of my head where if the bullpen just locked it down, they would be in a wild card spot right now. But that's baseball. It happens. Relievers aren't always perfect, and that's part of the game. But it just happens that the Orioles lose games too much because of bad bullpen play. But I will say the pitching rotation has been a pleasant surprise. Now, over the past couple of weeks, I don't think they've been as strong. Kyle Bradish didn't have a great start in Detroit a few weeks ago. Shane Baz obviously had a pretty poor start yesterday in Minnesota, and we'll talk about that later. Brandon Young, while he's still working, still being a workhorse, giving you 5, 6, 7 innings of 2, 3 run ball, it seems like some of his stuff isn't as sharp as it once was. It just seems like Drew French, while a lot of us have had critiques with him and negative things to say, I will say that he has improved this pitching rotation, and he's given the Orioles now a new starter going forward in Brandon Young. And yeah, you can credit some of it to BY and the work that he's put in, but at the same time, you got to give credit to French and for helping turn Brandon Young into a reliable starting pitcher. And if the Orioles are, in a playoff spot next year, you look back at this season and you go, it's because Drew French helped Brandon Young figure it out. It's because Drew French helped Kyle Bradish, Shane Baz. And I think that stuff has value. But going back to your point about like the whole analytics side, it's like at what point do you just dump the analytics and you just let your guys go out and play baseball? And you look at the small things instead of overthinking the big things, like swing path, Gunnar Henderson, right? Like he's changed his batting stance from last season to now, and it hasn't been working. And we saw some more production out of Gunnar this series in Minnesota, which was nice to see. But at some point, and I don't think it's going to be this year because they're stuck in their ways, but at some point, you've got to find the issue with this analytically driven team. And at some point, you just got to say, all right, guys, you know what? F it. Guessing pitches. Just go out there, make a play, and hit the baseball and pitch to the best of your ability. And I think once you do that, you will start to see this team win more games. But
well, I want to say, Tyler, while we're on the topic of pitching coaches and analytics, I think a big deal that, is not really being spoken about enough is, the Angels firing Mike Maddox and Dom Chidi and their entire pitching side. We talk about the work that Drew French has done with Brandon Young this year, and it's been incredible. But the first thing I thought about when I saw that the other day was Jose Soriano. He took the world by storm in April. They took this guy that was kind of a raw talent, hadn't really figured it all out. And all of a sudden we're talking about he was the best pitcher in all of baseball for a month and a half. Mike Maddox has a 20-year track record. Dom Chidi, 30-year track record, including in the Oriole organization. They fired them because they're not using analytics as much and that they shouldn't be. It angers me. It angers me beyond belief to the point that I feel like I have to say it, even if we're talking about the Orioles, that, guys like Mike Maddox, whose brother is Greg Maddox, mind you, are getting fired because they're not using analytics and technology as much as they should. When truth be told, the Angels were going to suck no matter who was in
charge. Analytics weren't even that ball club.
No, analytics aren't even giving them an extra win or two. But,
yeah.
If the Orioles, and I'm not saying fire Drew French, like I said, the pitching staff has been a lot better than I expected this year, the starting pitching rotation. A lot of it comes back to Michael Elias not building a good bullpen. But, Mike Maddox, Dom Chidi, these kind of guys would be perfect for this team, perfect for these guys. Like, okay, Drew French got Brandon Young to where he needs to be and where he should be, and, to a point we didn't expect. How are we going to keep him at that level? How are we going to continue to grow him? And I think that's something that the Orioles have to look themselves in the mirror this offseason and say, we have to go away from this at least a little bit. Give a little.
That reminds me too, and I don't want to get too off topic because I want to move through this series, but it reminds me of when Greg Roman was in Baltimore as the offensive coordinator. Lamar won an MVP. Team went 14-2. There was a lot of success with Lamar's development, but they weren't putting it together when they had to. And they fired Roman. They brought in Munkin. And all of a sudden you see Lamar get from an MVP level to like a super MVP level. And that's where his 2023 season was so impressive because there was an extra part to his game that was still untapped. And I think with a lot of these Orioles pitchers, there is an extra part in their game that is still untapped. Like Kyle Bradish went from being last year when he was healthy and he pitched 6 or 8 games for us, like he was unreal, unbelievable. He had like a 12.2 K per 9 in his however many starts he had. He had a ERA I think below 2. He was fantastic. And now Kyle Bradish is having a hard time generating whiffs. And it's like, okay, now that he's staying healthy, now that he's giving you length, now that he isn't giving up the long ball as often, you've got to find a way to get that swing and miss back. And I think to your point, Clay, that's where you got to find someone that can take this rotation and bullpen from solid to great. Or even now you could argue
even very good.
Yeah, even very good. Like this rotation right now, I think is very good, but you have to find a way to get them to elite. And I think we have the talent in-house to get there, the raw talent with Bradish, Rogers, Boz. And I don't know if, Rogers is going to stay here, but you got to find a way to elevate their game more from what they've been this season, because we're going to talk about this now because Shane Boz, he was great in Texas, but he also threw 100 pitches. And then the next day he comes out flat and his velocity is down. And that's worrisome. And it's like, okay, why was it so good here in Texas, but why did he struggle so hard in Minnesota?
I just think It's an issue, but I credit it to a tough night. I mean, Shane Baz went out and gave you the best start you've seen of an Orioles starter this season, and I think it goes back to you're planting seeds, building trees, and then once the tree's built, you're forgetting to water it. That's
Yeah,
what this organ. I mean, that's just what they do. They figure out where the problem is, or get these guys to where they need to be, and then I mean that's the thing with Major League Baseball. Guys get figured out every 3 weeks. These guys are getting figured out. You got to keep adjusting. You got to it's adapt or die in this world, and the Orioles just don't adapt. They just don't
right.
adapt.
Yeah, and it was a tough loss in Game 3 on Wednesday because those were up 4-1. Looked like everything was great. Beavers, Earl Weaver, special 3-run homer. Those were up 4-1 in the third inning, and then Boz blows it up, gives up what 4 runs in that inning. Those are down 5-4, and then
Go to
the
the pen.
bullpen
I
gives
tell you,
up
when
4 more.
Kowser ripped that ball in the ninth and the pitcher caught it, I was just like, "What are you gonna do?" I
I
mean,
turned it off by
I
that.
mean,
I
yeah, I
turned it
mean,
off by that.
Kowser ripped a liner, dude. It was probably 105 miles an hour right at the pitcher into a line drive double play. It's
Yeah,
like, all right,
it's
like
it's it's
that's the year we're having. Yeah,
right, exactly. And but the thing is though is if you want to be a wild card team, if you want to push for that spot, gotta win games like that game 3, especially when your team gives you a 3-run lead when you're not getting run support all year long. Boz has got to lock in the bullpen. There has got to lock in the offense. Has got to be able to add on one more run from the 4th inning to the 8th inning, right? Like they're not playing complete baseball, and we've talked about that all season long, and that's a big reason as to why they're on the outside looking in. And to my note on the right underneath segments, they're dead in the water. They're dead. They don't have that it factor that they once had when they won 101 games. And obviously, the Ali Rutschman trade sucks the life out of it. Injuries suck even more life out of it. But it does seem like this team is lost, and I don't think there's a way for them right now to dig themselves out of the grave that they have shoved themselves in. But on the bright side, Clay, and this is where I want to change topics to a positive. MLB Pipeline did update their top 100 prospects and organization's top 30 prospects, and the Orioles have 4 in the top 100. New top prospect, Eric Booth Jr., first round pick in the 2026 MLB draft, outfielder. And he's ranked 40 in MLB Pipeline. I think Booth is a really fun player. I think he kind of fits the mold that Mike Elias has been searching for years out of a center fielder. Enrique Bradfield Jr. to a T. Super athletic, super fast, great defender, solid bat to ball skills, but doesn't have a lot of power and issues with their swing. And for Booth, I mean, he's 18 years old. I'm not expecting to see him for another 4 years at the pros, but I think that's just an upside swing that, if you can tap into the potential there out of the most freak athlete in this year's draft class, I think you really have a franchise cornerstone. What are your thoughts on Booth real quickly?
yeah. I'm very excited about Eric Booth. Like you kind of mentioned, I mean, this is the kind of guy the Orioles have gone after, whether it's Enrique Bradfield Jr., Vance Honeycutt from the right side. I mean, they're trying to find a center fielder. I think that we'll get into this, but I think Enrique Bradfield Jr. needs to be up here, and I think we need to see what we have in him in the next year and a half, because at the
Sooner
end of the
than
day,
that.
we essentially drafted Eric Booth Jr., who is EBJ, just with a bit more power. When you look at
Right.
it on paper. So my question is, what are we doing? What is the goal here? Because you keep drafting these outfielders, and all of a sudden, Enrique Bradfield Jr. was drafted a couple years ago. We haven't even seen him yet. So
Mhm.
when are we going to see him? If this isn't the year, and we've already established this, when are we going to see these guys? When are we going to see the Enrique Bradfield Juniors? When are we going to see the Trey Gibsons getting starts?
Right. And I think it's one of those things where those are, still waiting to see if their vets can get them to the playoffs. And I think it's stupid at this point. Just let the young guys play and call up Gibby. I mean, I'm assuming Bassett's going to be up soon. He'll probably honestly get called up tomorrow.
He's going to pitch this weekend, yeah.
Yeah. And it sucks because now Gibson went all the way down to 17th in the Orioles prospect ranking, which I think is unfair to him. Given how talented I think he is. He's one of my favorite pitching prospects the Orioles have had in a while, and he's not getting a chance here. But I want to continue to move down the line, slotting in at number 2, and we haven't really talked about him a whole lot on air here, is Anthony Jansen at 49, second prospect in the Orioles farm system. Obviously, the flame-throwing righty that we got in the Adley Rutschman deal from Boston, and he looked great in his debut start down in Chesapeake. Super impressive. I think he had 9 strikeouts, went 5 innings, gave up 2 hits or 2 runs, both on the home run ball. Really impressive player. I think he has all the upside in the world. Would not be shocked if we saw him next season, as he's already 21 years old. A really impressive get, and he's hopefully, going to be a top of the rotation arm for the Orioles. Now, some people see him as a 3-4 starter, but a lot of people and analysts also saw Kyle Bradish as a bullpen arm, and now he's the Orioles' best starting pitcher, arguably. So your thoughts on Jansen? Where do you think he slots in this Orioles rotation in the future? Do you like his ranking at 49? He did stay at 49. I do want to make it known that he was 49 before the update, and he still is 49. But I think he's only going to go up over time.
Yeah, like you said, Tyler, I think he's going to only go up over time. The potential's there. I mean, I think we all know how angry I am still about the trade and how everything went down. But I mean, what we're looking at with Anthony Jansen, I mean, the potential's right there. I mean, he's got all the potential. He's got the stuff in the makeup to be a top of the rotation starter. And we'll keep getting into it. But I mean, you look at this Orioles, top 4 prospects. You got 3 top 100 pitchers right now.
When was the last time they've had that?
I can't even remember, but I mean, and it's never a guarantee in these world that any of these guys pan out. But I will say, for a team that needs pitching in a dire amount, it's nice to see, my favorite prospect in this system, Joseph DeZerua, Caden Hunter made a huge jump, and I'm going to let you take the floor on that and get into it, but it's a lot to be excited for. I'll say that.
Yeah, and as you should be. Joseph Zierwall, second-round pick out of Michigan State this in the 2025 MLB draft. He slots in at 90, excuse me, on the top 100. And Zierwall has been everything Orioles fans could have dreamed for and more this season. In 2026, he has a 2.01 ERA and 112 innings in the minors between High A Frederick and Double A. And he's already pitched 71 and 1/3 innings at Chesapeake Double A. And he's got an ERA below 2 with only 17 walks, 82 strikeouts, a whip below 0.9. This guy is special. And this wasn't, I saw an interesting tweet. I forgot who it was by earlier, but it was I forget what it was. Oh, it was Zero is following the same path as like Trey Gibson, where they just shot up the minor leagues. Gibson only pitched, I think, like 50 innings at Double A before going to Triple A last season, and Zerwall's already eclipsed that. So I think you could see a Zerwall promotion very, very soon, especially, with Kyson Witherspoon down in Frederick and a few other really talented pitchers. JT Quinn just got promoted the other day. So I think, they got to call up one of these guys down in Chesapeake, and I think Zerwall's the clear option. Super, super fun player. 55 grade fastball, 45 grade slider, 60 grade changeup, though, is where he makes his money. When you throw a fastball in the mid 90s and you have a changeup that just drives down,
falls off the bone.
Yeah, especially as a 6'8" lefty, and with a really tricky arm slot, I think Zierwall is the best pitcher in this Orioles farm system, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like you said, Tyler, he's got 71 and a third innings in Double A at this point. He's going to keep going. It wouldn't shock me if in the next week or so, even if it's 2 starts, maybe 3 starts in Triple A, the Orioles just give him, a little taste and a little sliver of it. I think you're going to see him play a big part in spring training next year. I obviously don't think he makes the team, but I think you're going to see him eat a lot of innings, see a lot of major league talent, and the Orioles are going to want to get him up early. I could see DeZero coming up in June or July next year if he continues to pitch the way he is or around the way he is. I hope that doesn't kind of make the Orioles not spend this offseason on pitching where they need to.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're in a really good position. We talk about Jansen. Jansen's played what? He's been AAA now for 53 innings. I don't think that he goes or Double A. I apologize. He's been a Double A for 53 innings at this point. I don't know that he's gonna get called up to AAA this year. I don't think both go up, but I do think that you could see Jansen being ready in August or September next year, getting a good 4 or 5 months to start the year in AAA. You got to love where we are with that.
Yeah.
Obviously, you got to makes my blood boil. The major league teams playing so shitty, but I mean, we are where we're supposed to be. And they just called up Caden Hunter to Double A. He's got 16 innings, so obviously you're going to see him start the year there next year. And hopefully maybe we'll see DeZero in June, and that's right around when they call Caden Hunter up to Triple A, and
Sure.
the cycle kind of continues. I'm interested to hear what you think.
Yeah, and quick note: the D in his last name is silent, so it's Zerwa, not DeZero.
Zero.
There we go. Zerwa. It sounds like a name in like Harry Potter, like Lord Zerwa. Is that just me?
Might be just you. I was thinking more Mr. Miyagi, Karate Kid, but
Okay, yeah. Sensei Zerwa. Yeah. I like that.
Zero.
Clay, take it away with the final guy in the Orioles top 100.
Final guy in the Orioles top 100, Caden Hunter. I mean, this is a guy, Tyler. He wasn't that high on the Orioles top 30. I want to say he was right around 15 at the
He
start
was
of this year.
outside the Orioles top 30 coming into the year.
And then he moved into it, I want to say probably around May or June after he started really hot. There's not a lot that I can't say about this guy. I mean, he's pitched so successfully at every level this year. He had 5 starts in single A Delmarva this year, had a 1.17 ERA, had a 1.6 ERA and 9 starts in Frederick this year, and 3 starts in Double A Bowie or Chesapeake. He's got a 4.5, but that's obviously kind of inflated because he's only pitched in 3 games. So when you talk about a fast riser, you talk about a guy that's catching eyes very, very quickly. Caden Hunter's that guy. And like you said, Tyler, I mean, he's 22 years old. He could be a fast riser. I mean, even more than he is right now. He's going to be 23 at the end of this season. He's a guy that you could see next year. I think I'm interested to hear what you have to say, but a 6th-round pick last year that's grown like this. I mean, it was about time the Orioles hit on a pitching prospect, and it seems like they got a really good shot at hitting at least 2 of these.
Yeah, Hunter has looked fantastic. I mean, you talk about a power pitcher as a southpaw, and that's Caden Hunter. Looks like Garrett Crochet, Tarek Skubal. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to turn into that, but like the profile plays like that, high 90s fastball. The control definitely needs some work. He throws around the plate, but he's not a strike thrower yet. I think once he becomes a strike thrower,
It's going to be scary.
yeah, and he already is scary. But once he becomes a higher command guy, it will get extremely scary. And I think the secondary pitches are another big concern. I like his changeup more than I like his slider. He also has a really, really slow curveball in there too, which is interesting. Because when you throw 95 to 98 miles per hour, if you have a curveball below 80 miles per hour, it fools guys. And the Orioles, they've really tried to, like groom some of these left-handed pitching prospects. A guy like Cade Povich never really worked out. At least it's looking like he's not going to work out. But he never had the velocity that, Zerwa and Hunter had. And I think that's where these guys separate themselves from southpaws that the Orioles have tried to develop in the past. The fastball just has life. And you look at a guy in Cade Povich, doesn't really throw a fastball, kind of only has a sinker, and it's 93 miles per hour and below, sometimes even 90, 91. With these guys, it's like their fastball has a lot of rise, a lot of really, really fun action, interesting arm slots. I mean, Zerwa's 6'8", Hunter's only 6'2", but like Hunter has I think 60 grade fastball. And his velocity from his time at USC this past year to now has only gone up, I think, like 2 miles per hour. You have to wonder if he can get to that 99, 100 mark where he really can look like, a Skubal or a Crochet. I'm not saying he's going to be. I don't want to put the expectations on this guy. But, like, the makeup just screams top of the rotation arm if, like I said, he can find that strikeout pitch, that secondary pitch, and if he can start throwing more strikes in the zone, you're looking at a top of the rotation arm. If he can find that tertiary pitch too, like if he can really dive into that slider or curveball, and really become like a strong third pitch, this guy is going to be lights out, and the Orioles are going to have him until he's 30, 31 years old. And he is going to be the staple of this Orioles rotation going forward with Zierwall, with Jansen, with Bradish, and with Boz. And I think this rotation is in a really, really good spot going forward. But now, Clay, you have to see these three pitching prospects put it together when they get called up to the major leagues. And that's the biggest, concern. Can they do it? But I will say confidently, I'm more confident in this pitching group of prospects that we've had in my whole entire lifetime to get it done. I think,
100%.
and I think even if two of these guys flop, you're still going to get an elite pitcher out of one of them. And while that would suck to see a guy like Jansen and Zierwa both struggle, or Zierwa and Hunter both struggle, like, you're cool with having one guy come out of this bunch that's really, really good, and two of these guys just being like a Dean Kramer for you for the next 5 years. And while that would underperform expectations a little bit, like, if one of these guys can become, your future ace, like, you're going to be in good company with your rotation going forward.
And it's something that I got taught at a young age, Tyler. And I think when it comes to guys like Caden Hunter, his control isn't there right now. And obviously you want guys to push the strike zone and be throwing a ton of strikes. But I think a guy like Caden Hunter, if he can just learn to be effectively wild,
You can
and
get away with it.
yeah, and when I say effectively wild, a lot of people are going to think, well, I wouldn't want him being wild at all. But, when you have a guy that can push 96, 97 and has movement on his pitches, you can be okay with him, building up a kind of a higher pitch count just because he can control it. He knows where it's going, and he can, you could scare a guy if all of a sudden he's got a 1-2 count. He can come inside with a 97-mile-an-hour fastball and scare the shit out of someone, and then he's going to drop a changeup at the bottom outside of the zone the next pitch, and the guy's not going to swing because he's scared shitless from the last pitch.
Right.
Being effectively wild is it's better than being controllable. I mean, it's you get some guy, some wild horse out there. That's the kind of guy you need.
Yeah, but I mean, with that being said, Clay, I'm sure you would rather have him become a control freak in the zone rather than effectively wild, right? Like,
if effectively wild gives you 7 innings and 2 runs.
Sure, yeah, of course.
That.
But
but here's the thing. Yeah, it's better to have control, Tyler, but not everybody can be Greg Maddux. At the end of the day,
yeah, of course.
You're going to need guys that, sometimes you got to throw a ball. Sometimes the best pitch to throw is a ball.
I agree.
As crazy as that sounds, having a guy that's going to keep punishing the zone, at some point, he's going to make a mistake pitch because he's too scared to throw it outside the zone. I mean, you need a good mix.
And this is the final thing I say, and then we'll talk about the updated Orioles list. But when I look at control as a pitcher, I'm not looking for a guy that throws 92% strikes or 80% strikes or even like 70% strikes for that matter. I'm looking for a guy, though, that will, in his 6-inning start, give you 75% first pitch strikes, get ahead of the count. And then that's when guys like Zierwa, Jansen, Hunter, with their swing and miss upside, that's when they're going to eat. Just get ahead in the count with their lively fastball, paint it inside, make it hard for them to, get back in that count. Just if you get up with these three pitchers, if you're up in the count 1-2 or 0-1, they're done. Like, and I can say that with confidence because they have such good raw stuff. And like I said earlier, this is the most excited I have been for a trio of pitching prospects to come out this Orioles farm ever. And I've only been alive for 22 years, and I'm confident that at least one of these guys, I think all three of these guys are going to have better Oriole careers than a guy like Grayson Rodriguez had for obvious purposes. But I want to move down the list here. And we'll kind of just talk about like the top 15, some guys that fell, rose. Ike Irish is at 5. Real quick, not surprised, season-ending injury towards meniscus, but I still think he's a great player. He looked really, really good in Frederick this year. 916 OPS, 528 slug, 388 on base, 16 homers, 59 RBIs, 20 stolen bases too. He was moving out there. I feel good about Ike Irish going forward. I just hope that, at 22 years old, he can really continue to build on that strong season that he had down in Frederick next year. And hopefully you can see him by September of next year. by the time he's 23, 24 years old. Real quick, Clay, your thoughts on Ike being at 5?
Yeah, I think you're going to see Ike Irish and someone and one other list top 100. Ike Irish is having a great year. Unfortunately, he had a season-ending injury. I looked at him to bounce back, and he'll be back in the top 100 for someone, and back in probably baseball, some top baseball pipeline too.
100%. And now a player that was a former top prospect in the organization who once again has had some injury troubles this year, and that's Nate George, the 20-year-old who was drafted in the 16th round in the 2024 MLB draft. He completely shot up the ranks last year in 2025. He had a 896 OPS in rookie ball, single A and high A, and in high A Frederick this year in only 20 games, a 738 OPS. Injuries have been a concern, which is why I think he did fall out. But when you look at his makeup, it's really impressive. He has untapped power potential that I think is only going to get better as he gets stronger and as he gets bigger. 55 grade hit total, hits for high average, is a weapon on the base path. So I think he's a better base runner than Enrique Bradfield Jr., 70 grade run, 60 grade field. And George at 6, well, it sucks that he isn't a top 100 prospect anymore. Like you said about Ike Clay, wouldn't be shocked if, George was once again a top 100 prospect come, this time next year.
Yeah, Nate George was doing everything right in Frederick. Unfortunately, we don't know what's going on with him on the injury front. It's just something that's been very hush hush. I think it's more of a personal thing. So thoughts and prayers are with Nate with whatever is going on. Hopefully he bounces back and has a clean offseason, gets back to it next year. But like you said, Tyler, I mean, Nate George is one of those guys that just he's producing, and it's unfortunate that he's out, but it's special to me. You can look at it. Ike Irish, Nate George, these guys are going to be top 100 prospects again next year. Luis De Leon, he's pitching like a hell of a pitcher and could contribute to this team next year, if not this year. Wahiwa Aloy, I mean, it seems like every night we're posting on Twitter, Wahiwa Aloy is making either hitting a ball 500 feet or making an incredible play.
For sure.
That's another guy that I think is going to keep moving up the list. I'll let you take it over if you want to talk about one of those guys, but I was thinking you could talk about number 9, and that's Endy Azokar.
So there we
go.
You got
I want you to go ahead and take that over. That's another brand new prospect to this organization, and let everyone know what's up.
Yeah. Real quick, De Leon, like you said, Clay, we'll see him next year. He's at AAA now. He's only getting older. He's 23 years old, been in the minor leagues for 5 seasons now. You will see him next year. I don't know if that's going to be in the bullpen or in the starting pitching rotation. But I do think as a reliever, he does have a lot of upside because he throws really hard and he has a really, really good secondary pitch being that slider. Wahiwa Aloy, one of my favorite profiles in this Orioles farm system. He is older, but a Golden Spikes winner at Arkansas 2 years ago. Really, really fun player. Great power. Really, really solid fielding. Just a good hit tool all around at 22 years old. If he continues to, hit well, I think you could see either him or Irish be a September call-up next season for Baltimore. But moving down here, Endy Azokar, got him in the Boston Red Sox deal with Adley Rutschman. This year, he has an 888 OPS in high A and single A, but already in 7 games down in high A Frederick. And I'm actually going on this Saturday, to interview Endy Azokar down in Frederick.
Oh, yeah.
Super fun. I should be able to, speak to him for a little bit. Looking forward to that, but he has looked great so far. 967 OPS, a slug above 600 in Frederick, 11 for 33, has a homer, has already driven in 8 RBIs, has only struck out 7 times. And at 19 years old, he's just such a fun player. The power's there. When you look at a power speed profile, Endy Azokar is that. Him and Jobnardo Reyes, who we got in the Dean Kramer trade, I think are 2 guys that have great power, great speed, and they're both young. And if they can put it together, one of those guys could be a secret weapon in Baltimore down the line. What are your thoughts real quick on Azokar, Clay?
I couldn't be more excited about the potential. I mean, Tyler, you look at, even just in 7 games, he's hitting 333, 361 on base percentage with Frederick. I mean, what's there not to like? I mean, power's 55 on the tools, runs 55, arm 55, field 50. I mean, this guy is, he's an overall 50, on the 2080 scale, but that's kind of close to being outside the top 100. I mean, I'm sure he's probably in the 130-ish range. He's another guy that could continue to grow, and if he continues to excel in Frederick and gets called up to Bowie and does the same thing, I mean, we have a lot of guys that could be knocking on the door within the next year or two. I think the one blessing I will give is that even if there is no major league season next year, the minor leagues still play. The minor leagues have their own collective bargaining agreement. I think that's something that not a lot of people realize, and I couldn't be more excited. I think that not missing out on that developmental year for all these guys is going to do wonders, because if there is no 2027 season, which I hope there is, all of a sudden these guys are going to be a year older, and that 2028 team, I mean,
they're only going to be better.
Yeah, you hope.
Right. So yeah, if there is no MLB season next year, I will be in Frederick. I used to, have an internship there a few seasons ago when they weren't affiliated with the O's, and it's about 35 minutes north of where I live. So I will be going to a lot of those Frederick games next year.
Will be Frederick Theory next year.
Frederick Theory. Amen to that. Number 10 is an old friend, Michael Fort, who's down in AAA right now with Norfolk. Fort's an interesting player. I think you could see him be a September call-up, especially, if like the Orioles want to manage a guy like Boz's innings or Bradish's innings or someone like that. I think you could see Fort get called up as soon as September 1st. But I think Gibson would get that nod instead, just because he's been up and down a lot this season. But Fort's an interesting player. Tampa Bay kind of rework some of his things a little bit. He had a lot more success this season overall as a pitcher in AAA than I guess he's had in the past. Now in 2025, he was great at High A Aberdeen and Double A Chesapeake. He had a total 1.58 ERA last season when he was in the Orioles farm system, but in Double A when he was with the Rays organization, he had a 2.15 ERA in Double A with a lower batting average than he had when he was a prospect in Baltimore. I think he's just a fun pitcher. He is on the older side though, 22 years old. I think if you're looking for a guy that's just going to come in and eat innings and just be a workhorse for you, I think Fort is the most likely prospect to become that. Genuinely think of a Dean Kramer. Like, I think that is what Fort can be, a 4-5 starter that could, be a mid 3 to high 3 ERA guy. But I think his floor is probably, someone that is just a 4-5 ERA guy who gives you 100+ innings a year. And it depends on if that's what the Orioles need, just a guy that, can just tank innings for you. You're hoping there's more with him. But at 22 years old, it does seem like the clock is ticking a little bit. And he is a guy that I 1,000% expect to see at spring training next season, Clay.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Ty. I think we're in a position where Michael Fort, welcome back to the organization. I hated the trade at the time, just trading Tyler Wells, not the return. But, him going to that Tampa organization for a couple months and being able to learn from one of in my opinion, probably the best organization to go learn how to pitch. It's like we sent him to summer camp in a sense in exchange for Tyler Wells. So
yeah, right.
I'm excited to see what we have. Like you said, I think if he can even be Dean Kremer, let's not forget Dean Kremer started a playoff game for this team at one point. Well, it went bad, but these guys have been serviceable. Dean Kremer was in this rotation for 5 or 6 years. So, if you get a serviceable 4 or 5 out of Michael Fort, that's great. If not, maybe he can become a late inning reliever. Who knows?
Yeah, 100%. Before we dive into the 11 to 15, 20 range prospects in this team's farm, quick shout out to our sponsor, O Squared Residential Design. Just like we build winning O's content, O Squared builds winning kitchens and bathrooms. Woman-owned, family-operated right here in Maryland. Excellence in every square inch. Check them out at osquaredesign.com. That's osquaredesign.com. All right, Clay. We can speed run through these guys, and then I kind of want to hear, a guy that you think fell too far, rose too high, your favorite prospect. Boston Bateman, had the chance to interview him about a month and a half ago. Super, super nice guy, 6'8", big lefty.
Big boy.
injured sadly, but he has NFL size. Really, really lively fastball. Has a great slider. Just a guy, super friendly guy. Like I want to see this guy win so badly, and if he can stay healthy, I expect him at 20 years old to hopefully finish in AAA next season, and then by 2020, the start of 2028, you'll see him be in spring training, hopefully fighting for a spot in the rotation.
Yeah, I mean Tyler. I mean, what is there not to like about Boston Bateman? We talk about Joseph Zirwa.
Got it.
We talk about his size. 6'8". Boston Bateman's the same thing. Boston Bateman was near the
But
top of
he's
this.
240.
Yeah,
Zero is 6'8",
Boston Bateman.
200.
Boston Bateman is the size of DJ Fluker, but like 60 pounds less. I mean, this guy is legitimately a monster. With that
Yeah,
being said, Boston Bateman was at the top of near the top of the Orioles farm system last year. When we acquired Boston Bateman, we traded, Ryan O'Hearn, Ramon Laureano, traded a shit ton for him, and he was the prize of the deal. Him being 11 and going down is not a bad thing for him.
no,
That's just a mention of what the Orioles have put into this system in the last 12 months compared to because of what they did on the major league field. Boston Bateman has the potential, in my opinion, to be the same in that same stature as an Anthony Jansen, Joseph Zerwa, Caden
yeah,
Hunter. It's just a matter of staying healthy and doing it. Like you said, Tyler, he turns 21 next month. Next season, he's going to have a full year at 21.
mhm,
Hopefully, get up to AAA, and then at age 22, make the big leagues. That's still a young cat in the big leagues.
for
So,
sure.
there's so much to like, so much to love, and I'm really looking forward to his development.
Yeah. Moving down here, number 12, Kyson Witherspoon, another player in that Adley Rutschman deal. Now, Witherspoon is a guy that I still don't know a whole lot about. I'm hoping to be able to see him pitch live down in Frederick, but he was the Red Sox first round pick, and I believe the 2025 MLB draft, excuse me, 15th overall. Um, 22 years old and he's still at high A. You got to see him put it together, but I think the upside is there with Kyson. But like I said, you got to see him put it together because he was one of those, big holes or one of those big prospects that we got back in the Adley Rutschman trade. And if Jansen is the only pitcher that comes out of that good, like I'm fine with that, but it would be a luxury to have Witherspoon rise up the ranks here over the next season and a half and be ready to go by 2028.
Yeah. Kyson Witherspoon just turned 22 yesterday, so happy birthday to him. But I will say, him being in high A ball right now, I mean, it's a little. I get he was drafted last year, but that's the one thing when you draft these guys that are college pitchers is you got to hope they grow fast because the last thing the Orioles are going to want is Kyson Witherspoon to not touch the big leagues till he's 25 years old. They're going to have the luxury of him having another year next year. Hopefully, I want to say he's got how many starts in single A right now? He's got 80 innings in high A ball this year between our organization and the Red Sox. I think he'll be up in Double A hopefully for a start or two and get a cup of Joe up there, in the next couple weeks, and then hopefully be there through June or July next year, hit AAA, and then hopefully be able to run in 28. Earlier on in the season. I think, that's a guy that he was the 15th pick in the draft for a reason. He just hasn't shown it yet. And I mean, you look at his one start in the Orioles organization, 4 1/3, 5 hits, 5 walks, 3 Ks. That's why. You know,
Mm-hmm.
walks are a major issue. At the end of the day, he had 34 walks with the Red Sox and 78 strikeouts. I mean, those numbers have to go down. And if he can find a way to learn control, he's got the stuff to be, incredible. 60 grade fastball, 55 grade curveball, 50 grade slider, 55 cutter. That's what did I just say? 4 pitches that are above a 50 grade. That's not, that's not easy. He's still got a changeup that's a 45 grade. I mean, you learn control, and all of a sudden, this guy has the world in front of him.
100%. All right, I want to speed run these final prospects after I get through this player, but Aaron Estrada coming in at number 13 overall. I love Estrada's makeup, but the one thing that I'm really upset with his development this season is his inability to draw walks and his plate presence and his discipline. He did a great job of drawing walks and getting on base in 2025. He had a 366 on base and in between high A last season and double A last season. But now he has a 310 on base. Batting average is still high, really good bat to ball skills. The slug is there, 781 OPS in 98 games down in Bowie this season. but he really struggles with his discipline this season. I need to see that number get higher. At 21 years old, I think he's going to be Rule 5 eligible too. I believe this season, like this upcoming Rule 5 draft. So the Orioles are going to have to add him to his 40 man or to the 40 man. He's gonna be in spring training. Same with Luis De Leon, and he's going to have to make a name for himself. If not, Estrada's probably going to be one of those what if prospects for Baltimore. Clay, take us down to number 14, unless you really want to say something on Estrada.
No, I think you covered it. I think we'll move to 14 in front of the show, JT Quinn.
Yep.
I just want to congratulate him on his promotion to Double A Bowie. I mean, we're Chesapeake. We're sitting here. He's 22 years old. Next year he'll be 23. There's a lot to like. 60 grade fastball, 55 grade slider. He has a lot better control, in my opinion, than a lot of guys in this organization. And there's a lot of room to grow still. In High Frederick this year, 4-3, 3.7 ERA. 15 homers. So that number, will be worked on at the end of the day. Hitting balls in Frederick isn't as hard as, it was hitting homers in Aberdeen. So it'll come with time. That number will come down. I think what impresses me the most is the 106 Ks to 28 walks. I mean, that's a great ratio.
Mm-hmm.
He throws strikes, and if you throw strikes, you'll find a way to, keep growing in this league and keep growing through the system. There's a lot to love with JT Quinn, and I can't wait to keep watching him pitch. Tyler, you want to take it away with Ty Head?
Yep, Ty Head, Orioles second-round draft pick in this recent draft out of NC State. A very well put together prospect, I would say. Doesn't really have any weaknesses, but doesn't really excel in anything. But I do think if he reaches his potential, you could look at, just a really good athlete in your outfield, maybe a 15 homer, 15 stolen base guy, maybe a 2020 guy. 30-30 would be unreal. But I think Ty Head at 21 years old, he will be a guy that, if that can translate, you'll see him shoot through the minor leagues in no time. Number 16, Ethan Anderson, catcher, first baseman down in Double A. And Anderson as a switch hitter is really, really intriguing. He has an 889 OPS in Chesapeake this year. Super fun player. But at 22 years old, you have to wonder if, he projects as, a catcher with Samuel Basayo going forward. Does that go to Creed Willems? It's really going to be a test because I do think you're going to see Willems get called up over the next couple of weeks. Hopefully, I would really, really hope so. And then Willems is going to have a tryout, and Anderson's going to have a tryout probably within the next year. Who is going to be your second catcher going forward? You're going to have to figure that out. If not, one of these guys could be trade chips. Trey Gibson, Clay, take it away on Gibby. We know a lot about Gibby, so we honestly could just skip over him if you want.
Yeah, I was gonna say Gibby. Kind of, we know what we've seen so far. We know the potential. It's up to the Orioles to let him get a chance, and if not, he could be a decent trade piece. He's got a lot of control, and you know what you like there. There's a lot of things to like. I think we'll move down the list to a guy I already mentioned, Enrique Bradfield Jr. At some point, he's got to get a shot. We're at this point now. You took Eric Booth. You got a bunch of outfielders in this system. At some point, you got to see what you got here, because in the next year and a half, you're going to have to move on or keep going with him if he's succeeding. I think the guy I want to talk about next, it's Jaden Lowe Ray. We took him last year in the 5th round. Kind of a newer name to me. He's been a great player. I mean, he wasn't ranked at the start of this year, I do believe. Now he's ranked 19th, and he's quietly been growing up this system. He's not really a power guy. He just kind of puts the ball in play, and I mean, what else can you say? In 2026, he's hitting 336, has a 441 on base percentage. I mean,
Love it.
That's what the Orioles need. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if he can't hit the ball 400 feet. If he's hitting singles through the middle every time, I don't care. If he's walking, I don't care. That's what the Orioles need. The Orioles need guys like Jaden Lowe Ray, Luis Ariz, these guys that get on base for your big boppers. Not everybody needs to be able to hit 30 homers. Yep. That's a core message. And Jaden Lowe Ray, that's why I'm cheering for him so hard, because these are the kind of guys you need to be successful. 3 homers, 46 RBIs. This stands out the most to me, Tyler. 45 walks to 25 strikeouts.
Love it. Love it. Keep doing that, Jaden. You have a fan in me.
You have a fan in me. Keep growing, brother.
All right. These 20 to 30 prospects, we're not really going to hit. But, Clay, I do want you to bring up one, maybe 2 of these guys that you want to talk about. Nestor Herman is one of them for me. 3.85 ERA in AAA. I think he also is a September call up option as he is 24 years old, drafted in 2023. I like Herman. He's put together some really, really great starts recently in AAA. I think he is nearing the call up. But one player that I really want to talk about, and he was one of my favorite players in the Orioles minor league system last year prior to his injury, and that's Braxton Bragg. I think he has all the talent in the world, but at 25 years old, turning 26 in a few months, he's got to find a role on this Orioles team because at 25 years old, turning 26, like, are you a starter? Are you just going to be a bullpen arm? But his fastball super live, 42 and 2/3 innings this
Try
year.
him in the bullpen. Try him in
Yeah.
the bullpen. He's got a live arm. Try it.
Yep. And you can 2.32 ERA. He has a 2.89 ERA in his 3-year minor league career. Bragg is one of my favorite players, just if you're going based off pure makeup and like their talent level. But as a prospect, I don't know what the ceiling is. Maybe you do throw him in the bullpen and you can see if something sticks. And the final player that I want to personally talk about is the guy that we got back in the Dean Kramer trade, Jomnardo Reyes. Power and speed, like I was talking about earlier with who did I say had that? Andy Azokar? Did I say he had that combination?
Yeah.
I think Jomnardo Reyes is right there. 19 years old. He was a international signing for the Twins in rookie ball this year. Get an 855 OPS, and he's looked great in rookie ball. But single A tells a different story. In 15 games in single A this year, he has an OPS around 400. So he's got to get that bat turned around. But at 19 years old, I think he has 60 grade power, I want to say. 55 grade power, excuse me. I think it's super intriguing as a lefty, as a corner outfielder. I think he's super, super fun, and I love the return that we got for Dean Kramer. Clay, 2 to 3 guys that you want to talk about here. I think there's an obvious one. There was a big faller, and I'll let you take away on that, and then you can bring up a guy or two that you want to talk about, then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I'll find another guy to talk about if we have to, but the big one to me is Esteban Mejia, and I'm here to be the one that's kind of bringing good news to the Orioles fans for once and not be the Debbie Downer. I still believe in Esteban Mejia. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He's had a horrible year. 0-7, 9.74 ERA. It can't be worse. But I will say this. He's still 19. He's going to be 20 years old next year. 70 grade fastball, 60 grade slider. He's got such a live arm. What the Orioles have to figure out with him more than anyone in this organization is control, because he has the power to kill someone throwing 100 miles an hour and not knowing where the hell the ball is going to go.
Right.
Because if he can learn to be effectively wild or even push the strike zone 60% of the time, this is the most special prospect in this Orioles organization, and I will live and die by that. You're talking about a guy that's 6'3", 175 pounds, and just spits the ball out of his hand. I mean,
70 grade fastball.
70 grade fastball, 60 grade slider. I mean,
40 grade control. That tells the whole story.
That tells the whole story. So when you sit here and say, why is he 0-8 with a 9 ERA? You know why. You know exactly why. So the problem has already been diagnosed. Now it goes back to that Orioles organization that, all right, we have 6 months. What are we going to do this offseason to make sure that we can get this grade up to 50, that we can get this guy to limit his walks to, he's got everything you could ask for except control.
Yeah.
And the great thing is he's 19 years old. He's turning 20. I mean, the potential is so there. I mean, you're talking about a guy that could be a starter throwing 7 innings, pumping 100 miles an hour every night. And then you think the fastball is coming and it's a 92-mile-an-hour slider. I mean, that is exciting to me. Next year,
we have Jacob Mizorowski and Mason Miller at home if he can tap into that.
If he can figure out the control. Right. And, my goal for him next year is to just get on pace. If the Orioles can spend this offseason, I hope he doesn't go back home this offseason. I hope that he stays here and the Orioles have him in Florida all offseason and just work on control, work in Sarasota on control, so that next year he can go back to single A Delmarva, if not starting in high A Frederick, just to get a fresh start and hopefully make it to triple. Hopefully make it to AAA by the end of next year for a Cup of Joe. If
I don't know about all that.
Maybe just for one start, but I'm saying if he can grow in Frederick, all of a sudden April, May, he looks like the guy he was. You call him up, Double A. All of a sudden he spends 3 months in Double A and he looks like that guy. you reward him. You reward him after such a bad year. So I look
Sure.
to see him hopefully in 28, 29. And Tyler, I'll let you take the floor to wrap us out of here.
Yeah. Some guys that we didn't really talk about. Andre Hidalgo, left-handed pitcher. He's in rookie ball right now. Levi Wells, right-handed pitcher down in AAA. Harold Rivas, who we got back in the Adley Rutschman deal. He was the player to be named later. Real quick, he's in rookie ball right now. 772 OPS down in rookie ball. 18 years old. You're not going to see him for a long time. I'm going to do more research over the years. Hopefully, Rivas is a guy that, can project to be, just a top 20 prospect for the Orioles until he does hopefully reach MLB ready. DJ Layton, a utility guy, 803 OPS this season in between high A and single A. He's been killing it so far in 2 games down in Frederick. He has gone 3 for 6, 2 runs, 1 home run, 3 walks, only 2 strikeouts, 2 stolen bases. 20 years old, switch hitter, intriguing player. And then obviously you have your Mija, you have your Creed Willems, who hopefully will be called up soon. Kevin Roberts was your 4th-round pick this year. Potential to be a 30-30 guy. Lots of speed, lots of power at 18 years old, lots of time. Then you got Wilfred De La Cruz, who you got back in the Andrew Kittredge deal last season. Switch hitter. He's down in rookie ball right now, 707 OPS in 51 games down there. But 17 stolen bases, 39 walks to 44 strikeouts. Solid stuff. The homers aren't there. The extra base pop isn't really there yet. But like I said, he's 18 years old, switch hitter. A lot of upside still to be tapped in, the 20 to 30 range of this Orioles farm system. So things are only getting better for this Orioles farm. They're improving. And don't think all these guys are going to be wearing Baltimore Orioles jerseys over the next 5 seasons, because Mike Elias could trade some of these guys for starting pitcher, for a really good reliever, for the future center fielder going forward. Like, there are a lot of possibilities now that Elias has completely revamped the farm and taken them from a bottom 10 farm heading into 2024 to now a top, arguably 5 farm system on a lot of these, analysts and scouts websites and pages. It's been great what he's been able to do, but obviously you want to see the big league team win first. But I do think if you want to win next season, because this season isn't the one, I think rebuilding this farm, rebooting it is the way to go and is the best way to do so. Because if you have a farm system this loaded, you get any player that you want via trade. And I think that's an interesting thing. So we will see what happens with these farm systems or with the Orioles farm system and these prospects. I will be down in Frederick on Saturday, hopefully interviewing Azokar, Witherspoon, and hopefully a few more guys. So stay tuned for some updates on that. But once again, thank you guys for tuning into Orioles Theory. The love that you guys have been showing us on social media, on the podcasts, on YouTube, on X. It's been tremendous. And when we started this in February, we didn't expect us to grow this rapidly over the first, 5-6 months. And it's all because of you guys. So thank you guys. We really, really appreciate it here. Make sure to check us out on all socials: TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, X at Orioles Theory. Make sure to listen to O's Theory on all podcasting platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, YouTube, Pandora, wherever you get your podcasts, we got you guys covered. But once again, that's going to wrap up today's episode. For Tyler Barbaras and Clay Selgin, we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Go O's.
Goes.